So over on the NA version of the game, we have a Da Vinci Rider banner that has come out for the pre-release of Lost Belt 6, and I wanted to go ahead and do another servant review for Da Vinci Rider because it's been quite a long time, and we've gotten so many really good arts AoE servants that are especially good at farming over the years, and I think it's really good to remind people that Da Vinci Rider is still a very, very strong option that should not be overlooked because she is still rather good at just spamming her NP all over the place because she's got about like 3 different tools that allow her to spam her NP. Before we start though, make sure you leave a like on the video and you subscribe to the channel for that daily FGO content and that Lost Belt 6 coverage that is sure to come within the next couple of days. And if you want to see me play through Lost Belt 6 live, or you just want to see me play FGO in general, that usually happens every weekday starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, although right now you guys can hear that I am not actually at my normal setup. I am out of town, and so the next Monday I will unfortunately miss, which actually does mean I'm going to miss the live stream for Lost Belt 6, which is a bit unfortunate, but I will be back to my regularly scheduled streams starting that Tuesday. But with all that being said, you guys don't care about the stream schedule and all that good stuff. You want to know if Rider Da Vinci is still good or not, and for why she is actually still good and a viable option. Now, let me go ahead and just say right at the jump though, while I do think she is a very strong servant and a very viable option if you want to do anything pretty much related to arts, looping, spamming NPs, Da Vinci Rider does have your back. I do not recommend summoning for this servant unless you really, really like Da Vinci, because not only are there better options just to be using in general, but some of the servants that we're going to be getting, as I have been cataloging over the last couple of days, are going to be very, very OP, because I really want to make sure that people do not cave on these random bait banners that Lasengel is throwing your way, because even though you gotta wait just a little bit more, getting a servant like Morgan, like Koyenskaya, and especially like Oberon is definitely going to feel really nice when you do actually get them, and you're able to just crush a lot of content in the game with these really cool characters. Now with that being said, if you are someone that, let's say you're like a whale, or you just happen to have like 800 bajillion Saint Quartz, you're a oil tycoon of Saint Quartz per se, and you just have Saint Quartz to miraculously spend on this banner, or you already have her and you don't know if she's worth leveling up, the rest of this is going to be for you, or if you get her on GSSR, I guess in like a month or so. But starting off with her hits, she has some pretty decent hits going for her, but they don't really demonstrate how strong this servant actually is, because you've got 4 on the 1 quick with 9% star gen, which is okay, especially with the 8% quick buff that she gets from her riding passive and the 20% crit star generation buff that she gets from the overhaul passive skill that she does have. She can drop a couple of stars with this and with her extra attack, as 4 hits isn't the worst, I suppose, but don't expect her to be dropping stars all over the place. She's not going to be a Jack, she's not going to be a Raiko and a Skandar, but with little stars she is able to gen, she should absorb back into herself, because as a rider her natural star weight is very high, so I guess you can try to do some stuff with that, but I really wouldn't harp on it. What I think is very interesting is that she does have 4 hits on both of her arts cards, but only 0.49% NP gain, which would make you think that, oh, this servant's not going to be looping all over the place, because they especially also only have 3 hits on their AoE NP, which isn't the craziest thing in the world. You would assume, oh, this is a servant that's probably not going to be looping their NP like an absolute madman. But to supplement that, they actually gave her so many different ways to refund her NP, it's crazy. From immediate battery to arts buff to overcharging her NP in a very solid way to just gaining battery whenever she fires her NP. She just gets a lot of raw NP and will just force herself to loop through nodes. And again, like an absolute madman, she will get the job done, and she is very, very strong for that reason. So starting off with her first skill, this is just what I would like to call the good stuff skill that she does have, because you pretty much want to fire this whenever you have it available, because it's giving you debuff immunity for 3 turns, it's giving you a 1k heal every turn for 3 turns, and it's giving you 20% NP every single turn for 3 turns on a 6-turn cooldown. So the cooldown's not terrible, and it's just making Da Vinci very solid in a farming sense, because she's getting just fat globs of NP 20% every single turn. But then if you're using her in more difficult content, say you need somebody to kind of take care of some annoying enemies before you actually take out the boss with your single target, or maybe you're an absolute mad lad and you want to use Da Vinci Rider to take out the boss, she's at least going to be completely debuff immune for 3 turns, which is pretty nutty, because we usually don't just get a solid 3-turn blanket. Usually it's like 1 instance of debuff immunity or 3 instances of debuff immunity. having something like this can be very nice for some of those more annoying bosses. And I'm not saying you should bring her into a Serrano style fight, but she is really good for stuff like that, because when they constantly spam you with debuffs, she's at least good for 3 turns. So those style of fights she can be kind of decent in, because she has a way to really shut that stuff down. But other than that, there's nothing super insane about this skill. It's just, again, the good stuff skill, giving her a little bit of sustainability with the HP, protecting her from annoying debuffs, and if you want to use her for farming especially, it's just giving her good globs of NP back so she can ensure that she's going to continue to fire her NP. Moving over to the second skill, this is the one that is just very odd to me. Like, I understand why it's here. It's to give her some type of crit niche and to give her some form of survivability, but it's only 1 hit of evasion, and it's only 50% crit damage for 1 turn. Now, 50% crit damage isn't bad. That's the waiver crit damage skill that he's able to give to somebody for reference, and it is on a 4-turn cooldown. That is good, but it's just very, very strange, because unless you're exactly using her for more difficult content, you kind of don't really care about this skill. Because you could try to make the argument that, well, what if you really need it for, like, the last wave of farming? What if you really need your face cards? You're probably not genning stars with Da Vinci in general, and I do not think you are going to be equipping 20/30s to your Castorias to make sure that they are going to be providing stars for your Da Vinci on the off chance that you need a crit. It just is very, very weird. I kind of see why it's there. It gives her some native survivability, and it does give her the ability to do some good crit turns. It's just very, very weird. We're just going to kind of skip over it to the third skill, because I'm convinced most people forget that this skill even exists as well. But the third skill is one that people do not forget exists, because unlike the second skill, it kind of plays into the main thing that Da Vinci wants to do, and that is spamming her NP. It's giving the entire party 30% NP damage for 3 turns, which is really high for a party-wide buff, mind you. It's also giving them 10% NP gauge, and it's giving them 1 instance of NP overcharge on a 5-turn cooldown. This is very strong, because if you're going to be using her with other pseudo DPS slash buffer type servants, this is going to be very good for their damaging NPs, but it's also really good if you want to use her with Castoria or Lady Avalon, because both of them have very strong overcharge effects on their support NPs. Same thing for Tamamo as well if you also want to use her. I don't want to leave her out of the discussion either. But then also charging their NPs for them also gets them closer to their NPs, which can make Da Vinci Rider even better. I love it when DPS servants kind of have this little bit of a niche of being able to benefit their supports, especially the arts ones, because the arts ones to me have some of the stronger supports NP in the game. That might be a little bit debatable, but I do really like, say, Castoria, Lady Avalon, and Tamamo's NPs. I think they are so insane as support type servants specifically, that being able to not only give them NP to help them get to those faster, but also overcharge them just really helps out the team a lot. And then again, if you do want to use her with other offensive servants that can take advantage of that NP damage buff, it's 30%. That is not a small amount. Keep in mind, most charismas are a 20% attack buff for the entire party. She's giving 30% NP damage buff, which I would argue is even a more rarer buff type to get to people. And there is a guy that's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks here. Well, I say a couple of weeks, probably like 2 months. But that guy really does like NP damage. He can turn your NP damage into an absolute nuclear bomb. So just keep that in mind if you want to do really big boy damage with your Da Vinci Rider. I don't know why you would want to do that, but you would have the ability to do so. Now, finally, looking at her NP, this is kind of just the icing on the cake for her, because every time she fires her NP, all that good stuff I was just saying about the third skill is even better, because it's not just 20% NP for her, it's 20% for the entire party. So every time she's firing her NP, she's giving 20% to everyone. Your Lady Avalons, your Tamamos, your Castorias are getting a 1/5 of their NP back. And it just makes your arts teams feel so fluid. It feels so nice because she's spamming her NP, and that's allowing other people to spam their NP. If that person in particular is Tamamo, then you're spamming your skills even more, which means even more NPs, and it just turns into a really nice just arts circle jerk of everyone throwing their NPs around every 5 seconds, and it's a lot of fun. I don't know if it's the best thing you should be doing with your art servants, but it is a lot of fun if you do have Rider Da Vinci, because then over here on her overcharge, she does benefit from her own third skill, getting a 25% arts buff instead of a 20% because her arts buff is affected by her overcharge, which is nice because that means that even if the NP damage skill on the third one is down, she at least will always have at least an arts buff to give herself a little bit of damage and give her follow-up cards that are behind her NP a bit of extra NP gain on the arts card specifically. It also does multiply into her third skill because different buff types. And overall, this servant is just really, really strong. I mean, for someone who released, what, a couple of years ago at this point, she's definitely held up when it comes to being a looper. Sure, you may have better options as loopers, you know, Space Ishtar's probably better, Avenger Kama's probably better, Ibuki's definitely better. You definitely have better options that are just going to be even more generic as well. Even Berserker Musashi is really good as a farmer because she is just a berserker with really high NP gain and can do some really good damage, but she still is good. If you have Rider Da Vinci, you can get the job done with her, and then sure, there may be better boss killing servants because Rider Da Vinci doesn't have, say, special damage mods, or she's not stacking up damage as the fight goes on longer. She is just spamming her NP all over the place and is trying to help other people spam their NPs, and at the end of the day, isn't that the name of the game when it comes to art servants? Don't you just want to spam a bunch of NPs? That's what Rider Da Vinci is for. But I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of Rider Da Vinci. Again, I think she is still a very, very strong servant. If you get her on a GSSR or something, definitely level her up and take her out for a spin, pun intended, because she's a lot of fun to use. But do I advise summoning for her after singing all these praises over, say, Morgan, Kolyanskaya, or Oberon? Definitely not. Those servants are definitely way better than she is. But that also doesn't demean how good she is. It's just higher quality servants are coming out, but that doesn't make her any worse of a servant, if that makes sense. With all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace, late guys.